Hey everyone, it's Chris here, and I'm going to be making a small little recording of my thoughts on the matter of Destiny versus Halo. And what you're going to be seeing here is mostly footage from Destiny that I've played over the past couple days. I actually rebought Destiny, and the reason for that is, of course, when I originally bought Destiny when it came out, I was immensely underwhelmed by whatever content we got, and completed the main story and then sold the game with no questions asked there. After a little while, though, I happened to see the game at Best Buy, like about a year later, selling for $20, and I figured, well, it doesn't matter if I didn't like the game or not. That $20 is just a steal. So I decided to pick it up, get back into it, and at the same time, I guess I wanted to equate the value to the off-the-shelf game, and I bought the DLC at the same time. So I got back into it, and with both the Dark Below and the House of Wolves. What were my thoughts basically on the game? I'm still kind of underwhelmed, to be quite honest with you. I thought that when I picked up the DLC, I would get something a little bit more. I actually bought the House of Wolves first because I thought that it would have been a lot better, that there was a new social space, there were new items, there were new Crucible maps and stuff like that. And I just thought I was getting a better deal out of it all. And after a while, I thought it was a little bit lackluster, so I decided to pick up the Dark Below and sort of complement the whole thing, and surprise, surprise, it wasn't anything special either. Actually, I decided to buy the Dark Below after I saw one of the merchants in the tower, and I just hopped over to the store, picked it up for like $20, and I didn't even have to really even quit the game. The game itself, while still being active in the background, unlocked the content. I knew a long time ago that this is... Oh, that's not a good omen right there. That's a great way to start the game, isn't it? Oh, and by the way, what you're to see here is two sequential games. So despite the cuts, they are the same game. So, yeah, I saw one of the merchants, decided to buy it, and I knew that a long time ago that the data was packaged into the game from release. I mean, the fact that the DLC files were only 9.5 megabytes should have been enough to know that I'm confident to whatever I downloaded was some sort of digital key that allowed me to access whatever locked content was on the disk. So, wonderful. Yeah. And you can say, of course, that I'm like shilling, of course, for Activision or something like that. I really don't care. I'm going to buy whatever I feel like I want to buy. And in the end, I'll probably even get the Taken King as well, just simply because I was kind of impressed with what they showed me. Oh, by the way, Bad Juju's awesome. I spent a ridiculous and embarrassing amount of time both grinding up through the Crucible, so I got to level 5, with randoms no less. I didn't play in a party at all, so I got to level 5 in the Crucible with randoms over 2-3 days, an embarrassing amount of time I don't really want to fully discuss because I'm totally ashamed of it myself, and of course grinding the Vanguard missive to get Bad Juju in 2 days, doing strikes over and over again. So what wasn't I in particular truly impressed about? One of the first things I noticed is that there's no cutscenes in any of this. There's very little voice acting. There's truly only maybe 3 or so characters that are of particular note. I think in the Dark Below there's really only one character, and that's Eris Morn, who we don't get any information about except for small snippets in the flavor text. And of course, if you want to go through the Grimoire cards on Bungie.net. But I really hope that the game could give me some sort of information to sort of stand on its own, so that I wasn't forced to consult third-party information on it. But alas, right? So it didn't really tell me a whole lot about this person, but I was able to piece together whatever I could, and that she was some sort of corrupted individual who tried to take on Crota and apparently didn't do so well, considering the fact that she had like a bloody emo tears or something like that. In the other one, it's Petra something. I forget her last name, but one of the queen's bodyguards or bounty hunters, and the second was Vekar, whatever it is. The Fallen, it starts with a V. I thought it was Varkas for the longest time. But that's not his name for sure, but that's what I called him for a little while since I couldn't be bothered to read the text correctly. And he was actually the most interesting part of the game, the fact that we actually had a little bit of a dynamic. Because up until this point, the Fallen have sort of been irrevocably sort of evil and not very nice at all. But here we saw another member of their race, and it actually tells you the real name of the race, of course, in the Grimoire cards, not in the game itself. Haha, that Vex Mythoclast didn't help you at all, and I did it. It didn't help at all because, well, that little bit of information I had to go check online to even figure out anything about. That's what I did not like at all about Core Destiny, and I'm upset that that has carried over into the DLC, the lack of information. This is one I'm very happy about when I saw The Taken King. And I liked the idea that we were seeing how we were going to be... look at this fucking thing. Look at this thing right here. It's a beetle. I guess I just found like a beetle on the ground, decided to strap it to my arm and call it some sort of exotic armor. Isn't that just something right there? I haven't tried it yet either, though. But The Taken King, of course, doing things like enhancing story, totally replacing your ghost, which has no lines in the DLC. And I guess that's because there was some sort of falling out with Dinklage or something like that, or he honestly didn't care very much. He didn't want to get into like a studio for another 2 hours to record his lines or something like that. So naturally, they got Nolan North to do it, because he's everywhere, right? Fabio is on romance novel covers. Nolan North is in video games. They're everywhere, all of them. But from what I understand, there are going to be more cutscenes. There's going to be more interaction between the Guardian and the Ghost, and that they'll be able to discuss certain things about the world around them, which I can appreciate, because they took the fan feedback, the rather negative feedback, I might imagine, into account and tried to make a better game out of it. Yeah, I'm basically going to say right away it was Activision's sort of way of trying to regain any sort of lost profit or anything like that. And like think that, hey, we kind of screwed up with the original sort of release and all that. You guys better make a better game. And so this is sort of Bungie's attempt to try to pull back and salvage whatever they could and replace it with something approaching what we should have been getting about a year ago. Now, I watched the stream as it happened, and I have to say I was kind of impressed with the way that they were bringing different weapon armories, kind of like Borderlands, where you have stuff like, what is it, Tex Mechanica, Amalon, and you had Suros and Hake, or something like that. Like all of these different manufacturers with a different sort of style and emotion in their in their products, so it made weapons visually identifiable. You'd be able to know everything about like what a player is using and all of the stuff like the elemental attacks or something like that, which is really cool because you know that Amalon weapons fire some sort of energy projectile. You know that Tex Mechanica weapons fire like in sort of like fanning motions with the thing. Like everyone has like the last word in this game, and you can apparently fan fire it. I don't have the last word, but it's like the great equalizer of the game. You can take on just about everyone. Kind of like Bad Juju. I mean, the fact that it has automatic fire sort of puts it above everyone else. Like most of the other people that I had, I was lucky enough to have people that were kind of easy to beat in these games. Something I'm also looking forward to is the concept of the Dreadnought. Apparently, it's supposed to be super big. Now, I don't really trust that information given the fact that we've kind of been lied to about this before. So I'm going to take this one with a grain of salt, and not expect too much when it comes to the size of these areas. Or the enemy types that we're going to be seeing, the Taken, seem to just be rehashes of what we've been seeing before, except they're kind of like zombified or something like that. So I'm disappointed that there isn't a lot of creativity when it's coming to this whole new Taken enemy type. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe there could be something that I just hadn't seen before, and I could just be overreacting completely about that. But given what I've been reading on the subject, I'm not expecting too much. Also, what I'm not happy about is, so far as I know, in the podcast, the live streaming, they didn't show any usage for spaceships. And given my further research on it, I still didn't see anything else. So it looks like spaceships, so far as I know, are just simply going to be relegated to being loading screen status icons. And that there's just not going to be a whole lot of other use for them. So what does that matter? So I can grind up and get a House of Wolves starship, which looks freaking awesome, but I have to spend a whole lot of time in the Prison of Elders, which is okay, but the objectives are just not very broad at all. It's either dismantle mines, shoot mines until they explode, or shoot enemy. There isn't anything about capturing or holding zones, or keeping intel away from everyone, or something like that. I could think of a dozen objectives that you could put into the games to make it more interesting. And this DLC has been out for how long? I don't know. But it seems like they tried to make a half-ass Forge mode. Or it's Bungie making a half-ass version of something they've already created, Firefight, which they'd already kind of perfected, just like the bastard child of Firefight and Horde mode. It's something that just could have been better than what we got. It seems to be Destiny in a nutshell right now. It's failed potential. But that's not to say that it's still not kind of enjoyable. As I said, I've grinded through this. Destiny is a grind. It's kind of an enjoyable grind and all that. I like playing these matches here with Bad Juju and going and completely destroying. You can see from those points alone here that I was the best player in this match simply because I had the best weapon. And of course, auto rifles right now are useless. Scout rifles are kind of okay. I have a couple good scout rifles. And unless you have the last word, good luck. If you have the last word, you are automatically a good tier above everyone else, considering the fact that it has precision damage from the hip, and the fact that it can take down like 3 headshots or something like that. So, good for you. If I had Bad Juju, full auto makes a difference with a pulse rifle, because why pull multiple times and at the same time you can just hold down and just hope for the best. You have like an automatic bonus. And I haven't even unlocked all the perks for it yet, so there's still much more I can do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that what was the point really of the DLC? Just to hold us over until the Taken King comes out? It could have done better. So, of course, going to Halo now, and please ignore this, is the reason why I include this as a little bit of funny right here. It's decided to play the Master Chief Collection not long after this, and my first match was, of course, a lag-ridden mess. I guess I was the host here or something like that, my guess. And the other team quit, and we just won by default, which was awesome, but that wasn't even the best part. The best part, of course, was when the game was over, I got the achievement for getting my 450th game. So, my achievement winning game, and it was basically unplayable. It's just awesome. So, the second game, of course, was much better. It just blows my mind given the fact that going back to Master Chief Collection, comparing it side by side with Destiny, I know it's Halo 4, but you know what? Fuck it. I like this game. I liked it. The fact that it was 60 frames a second, and the fact that it was a high resolution, it felt a lot better than Destiny. It flowed a lot better. I mean, once you get into Destiny for a little while, it tends to flow. You tend to get used to it, but then you go back to, of course, going to 60 frames a second. It blows your mind considering the fact that these two companies were fairly powerful. But one decided to stick with 30 frames a second, presumably because they were pushing their graphics engine to the limit. And I'm going to say it wasn't because it wanted to be a more cinematic choice. It just blows my mind that Bungie created games that were like Halo 2, Halo 3, and of course Halo CE. And even Halo 4 seems to have a bit more of an enjoyability than Destiny. Because as I mentioned before, Destiny's multiplayer is inherently broken. And the reason for that is because in Halo, you are absolutely equal to everyone else. You have the same weapons. This might not be the case in Halo 5, but in the arena, that doesn't matter anyway. In Warzone, it's a totally different story, and maybe we can apply it to Destiny somewhat. In Destiny, of course, it all depended on what weapon that you had. If you had an exotic weapon, you had a major step above everyone else. Like, if you had the last word, if you had bad juju like me, or if you had Thorn. Screw Thorn, by the way. I will never use Thorn because it just feels wrong in my hands. But everyone uses it anyway. It's always the last word or Thorn. It's like the Iron Banner. It's like the Thorny Banner and something like that. It's like... I didn't like it. Like, it totally spat on what Bungie really wanted to do as a balanced multiplayer. It's broken. The fact that everyone can spawn with one-hit kill weapons like shotguns, sniper rifles, and super abilities, which are completely broken because some of them have very, very little chance to counter, like the Fist of Havoc, which, even if he's up next to you, if he initiates that Fist of Havoc, he will get you even if you blow him away point-blank range with a shotgun. It will not matter because he gains a buff. Or if you're the Sunsinger, if you activate your special ability, you automatically gain an overshield, which means that you really can't be stopped or anything like that. Or if you're the Hunter like me, which has 3 kills at will, of course, assuming, of course, that you can actually land the shot on the guy. It's not impossible, of course, but it's not that difficult either, or not too easy. I'm only guaranteed the kills if I'm aimed at the guy. If you're playing a Warlock or a Titan, you're guaranteed a kill if you even go close to him. It doesn't even matter if you're above or below them, because I tried jumping out of the way of a Nova Bomb, and it does shit. I still get hit, I still die. You could just say, get good, but I could just say, get not broken. Anyway. So, I guess that's why I'm looking forward to Halo 5. It's just, as an arena multiplayer, yeah, Destiny is fun, but it's the antithesis of what Bungie set out to do with the balanced idea of the weapons. There was always something that could really counter weapons in Halo, but you had to go and find them and pick them up. Whereas in Destiny, of course, it's just not that way. It's just not that way, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. And someone with patience and time or icebreakers always going to have an advantage over a guy who has like a Calcutta or some of the other weapons there that are lower ranked. And in the concept of weapon perks making it into multiplayer, that's something that I thought that totally ruined the point. I mean, it's not balanced. It really isn't, but I'm just telling you what it is after all this time, and it's there's not much more to say on it. It's just I always felt much more of an attachment to games like this. I'm playing SWAT, a game mode in here, and up until this point in Destiny, we really only had team deathmatch, free-for-all, a territory sort of game, and like a more territories that's going to be coming out, a game that's specifically supposed to mirror Ricochet, and Extraction, which is kind of like Extraction from, what is it called, like Salvage or something like that, which is kind of like the same as Extraction from the Halo games. So that's like 5 or 6 game modes. I'm playing SWAT right now. SWAT has been in Halo since Halo 2, since it was like a custom game mode or something like that, or Bungie did it themselves. Why am I now not seeing game modes like this? It's been a year since Destiny released, close to a year now, and I've still got the same exact multiplayer modes that I had a year before. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all. You destroy, like, yeah, you could argue, of course, that your story is getting enhanced now, but you're enhancing the story at the expense of the multiplayer, which lacks substance. That will never truly be Halo in the sense that there's no custom games, there's no browser, or there's no offline mode. It's always online, and there's nothing you can do about it, which is something like, of course, if you are in multiplayer, of course, and that we're probably not going to see anymore in Halo 5, but that's besides the point. The point is that you had something that was iconic to you, but you decided to let it go for the sake of, well, basically doing what another company tells you to do. I mean, that's not to say, of course, that Bungie's bad. They're just locked in the contract right now. There's not much that they can do at this point. But when Halo 5 comes out, it just, based on what I felt when I played that beta versus what I'm playing today with Destiny, factoring in what I can get at any time with the Master Chief Collection, it just feels like a much more rounded game. I feel like I'm on level ground when I play Halo. I feel unfair when I play Destiny, like when I have bad juju when I go on like a 15 or so kill streaks or something like that. But what can you do, right? We just wait. Destiny, wish it was better, but you know what? Take what you can get. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next time.